Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We usually do the show live on Twitch at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. That'd be twitch.tv/Echoplex Media, but I'm taking a week off of streaming, which is amazing. So we're just doing we're recording at the same time we usually do. We're just doing a record only. So if you're out there on the podcast, there is no members show this week, but still consider signing up $5 or more at patreon.com/Echoplex or eplex.store, because you will get a bunch of red light goodness in there. Plus, it feels good to support independent media, such as that's what this is. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Blue Sky at Plex-Dave, and I'm trying to explain esoteric online internet subcultures to fucking shitlibs all the time, and it's frustrating. So go give me a like over there or something.
And with you as always is the councilman, and I don't understand a word you just said, but you can find me on Blue Sky as well at PJ Allen TWO. That's PJ Allen 2. So I'm doxing myself now these days, but I'm happy to do it and excited to be on a new space where I can talk trash when I have a little bit of time. And if I'm not there, you can find me at City Hall. You can find me with the bad baby out in the street enjoying the Mexican grito. We were actually on the news, producer Dave. We could put ourselves on Downballot if I really wanted to yesterday. So a very exciting moment. The bad baby was living her dream. She's on TV.
Very good, very good. That is every young child's dream, is to be on the news.
Mine too, of course.
For a good reason, obviously.
Absolutely. She was on Daddy's shoulders watching the horses do dressage. It was very exciting.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
So, lots going on in local politics here in the Bay Area, but across the country, obviously, politics is blowing up. So, trying very hard not to dip into what's going on in the national scene right now, because there's so much happening locally, but I'm sure we'll touch on it at some point. But in the meantime, things are happening in San Francisco. We got an election today. You'll believe that.
The push is on to get the vote out in San Francisco's Sunset, where Supervisor Joel Engardio is facing a recall over his endorsement of Prop K, a controversial ballot measure that closed a portion of the Great Highway and replaced it with Sunset Dunes Park.
This didn't have to be this way. We actually, at the very beginning, as soon as we heard about this, we begged and asked them to reconsider.
The recall campaign taking their message to the streets ahead of Tuesday's election, saying the closure is inconvenient and sends too much traffic onto neighborhood streets.
Went against the majority of the people in this area that really care and use the Great Highway and turned it into a park, which we didn't need. But it was a road that we
fuck the park.
found necessary.
And while
parks suck,
the city's new park has also become one of its most popular since opening in April, according to the Rec and Parks Department.
I'm knocking on doors 5-6 hours a day because we have to get out the vote. My supporters need to know this is not a November election. This is a Tuesday election.
Engardio with his own plea to his constituents.
For people on the fence, I'm saying, vote no for now, because next year I'm up for election anyway, and you can judge me on all the issues against all the candidates.
The supervisor also reminding voters,
recalling me now limits your choice. You cannot choose my replacement.
That would be up to Mayor Daniel Lurie. If Engardio is recalled, it's the mayor's call who fills his seat.
I think Mayor Lurie is going to appoint somebody who has the priorities that he has.
Some of those priorities also met with controversy, like Lurie's family zoning housing plan, which focuses on adding housing density on the city's west side. But Supervisor Matt Dorsey doesn't think a newly appointed supervisor would make much impact.
The voting pattern has really been it's actually been more of a coalition of people working together than it has in years past.
Tara Campbell, ABC 7 News.
So the people in the neighborhood are like, we hate this park, and everybody else, and probably some of the people in the neighborhood are like, this park is the shit. There's people there all the time, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much what the deal is. And it looks like Matt Dorsey's already made up his mind about how this vote's going to come out. I think he thinks, like a lot of us do, that it's a special election. It's September 16th. It's really not a date that will live in infamy, and certainly not a day that folks think about voting. So in elections like that, typically it's the side with more fervor and fervent and anger, shall we say, that win the day. So I fully expect him to be recalled like 80-20, unfortunately. But yeah, this is it's just a shame. And I think the supervisor makes a lot of valid points, although sound, pretty defensive points when he talks about, well, you can just, vote me out next year. That's very true. And that is the number one argument against, just about any recall, is that unless the person has done something, illegal or egregiously wrong, or is stealing from the people, or, poured sugar in your mom's gas tank, there really is no point to that. It's just political differences, right? This is a decision he made. This is a movement he got behind, and some people didn't like it. And he's absolutely right. Next year, he's up for re-election, and you judge him on his merits, and you can vote for someone else at that time. Now you can't vote for anyone else. You're basically just saying no. And the folks that are backing this, like, none of them are running. None of them want to be the supervisor. They just know that they don't like this. They just know they don't like this guy, right? Or they don't like this decision that was made, but they have no solution. And it's pretty typical of these recall efforts. It's why it's getting pretty disgusting and sad to see them so successful, because they have no solution. I'm all for, if you want to complain, have a solution, have an alternative. They don't have an alternative. They just know they don't like what they got. And they're blaming this guy for it. And it's unfortunate, and he's going to get recalled. And Mayor Ed 210 is going to get to appoint whoever he wants for the next, year or so, year and a half, until January of 2027, basically, when the next supervisor takes office. And who knows, the person he appoints could have the leg up, right? They will be the incumbent if they decide to run. And they could have a much better chance than the average Joe or Jane of winning the seat. So the voters here, it's like a devil you know, devil you don't, right? Like, they're setting themselves up for probably more disappointment, because they won't have any control at all over who replaces him if they're able to recall him. Sorry, go ahead.
I just feel like the thresholds on this stuff should be higher, like not just on the signature gathering, but like, if you have a recall election and you get like 10% turnout or something, it should just automatically be fucking no, because what this tells you is that nobody cares.
Yeah. There's if you're on like a board of directors, or if you're on a city council or any kind of voting body, they have what's called quorum, right? Quorum meaning you typically at least half or more, one
basically
more than half.
50% plus one.
Correct. Have to be in attendance voting for the vote to be valid, right? I think you make a great point. I think that's something that we should consider in a lot of elections, frankly. Because
not for general election. Like a general election, there's so much hype around it, but for like something like a recall where you're undoing the last election, where like a fucking, what if 80 people showed up to vote, right? And then fucking 50 of them voted yes. Then 50 people just like undid the whole last election. Now I understand that it's not going to be just 50 people, but theoretically, right? The way that the system is, it could be 50 to 30 and in a whole ass district in San Francisco. And now, now that this person's gone, because all the people that signed the fucking petition couldn't be fucked off to vote, right?
Right. You're talking about a percentage of a percentage, or a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the people, of the district voting. And I'm looking at the numbers right now. Voter registration total in the district is 50,000, just a little over 50,000 even. And maybe 10% of that, 12%, maybe 20 on the high end will actually turn out. And so you're going to have 15,000 people, 10,000 people, let's say, making a decision for a district that actually has probably 100,000 people in it, because usually the registration is about half, 50%, just about anywhere you look, of the total people living there. So yeah, I would be all on board for that for special elections. And you even see it in general elections when there's hype, up the wazoo, like this, or in a special election like we had in San Jose, where there was a lot of attention placed on the council member who had to resign and why he had to resign. And everyone said, oh, there's so much attention on that, it will naturally feed into more people voting, in the election. So we should have a special election because folks will be engaged. And what happened? They had less than 18% turnout in both the primary. They actually had less people turn out in the general election for that race when it was just 2 people than they did in the primary. Because people don't care, right? There were people who turned out to vote for their specific candidate, and when their candidate didn't make it, they didn't care enough to go out to vote again. Right. So it's a massive problem, and either a do-over or some sort of, it's just not valid, and maybe
in the
just
case
a recall
you just talked
elections.
About, there wasn't like somebody had already been removed. So if you're going to put it to the people, then it's just whatever, 50% plus one, no quorum. I'm just saying, if you're going to fucking remove somebody that got voted in before, you should have to, 10% turnout. Just shouldn't, like, you know what I'm saying?
This is a great idea.
If you recall election, if you go, I don't know what the threshold would be, maybe a third, like 33 and a third percent plus one or something. But like,
work it out in the wash.
Huh?
They work it out. They work it out as they make the sausage, right? But it's a great idea. I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm even going to posit that to some of my elected friends and see what happens.
Like, because not only now you have to get these signatures for this recall, but now you have to be assured that, like, of those registered, like at least like fucking some reasonable, respectable chunk of these people need to come out and vote, or no just takes it because like you forfeited essentially because like you said, no quorum. There should be like quorum laws around recalls specifically. Now, what they did on the peninsula would have fucking been an end around on that. Now, wouldn't it have?
True, and that's and they weren't doing an end around that, but they were doing it around allegedly to expedite the process, which we've found is not expedited at all. But yeah, I don't know what the threshold is in San Francisco for recall in terms of the signature gathering. Right, typically for any kind of citizens initiative, it's it's a very small percentage, like 10 on the high end. I think it's 15% of the votes that were cast in the last election, right? That number, and that's a really infinitesimally small number in a lot of cases. So it's very easy to get something like this on the ballot. And if it's going to be that easy to get it on the ballot, I believe you're right, Producer Dave. I think it should be harder for it to pass, and the threshold should be higher for them to actually succeed. So whether or not it's like it's a quorum situation, or you just raise the threshold for the vote, right? They need to get 2/3. They need to get 70%.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. No. I would because if you raise that threshold, then nobody ever gets recalled, even if they deserve it, I think. But I'm just saying on this, where like it seems like the fucking, I mean, I'm guessing we're like you said, 20% is going to be high. Like 20% of like the registered voters is like the high end on this, and like that shouldn't cut it. Like.
Yeah, I would put it to you, like, what is a recallable offense, though? If someone for example, if the council member in San Jose had not resigned, right? And he had been convicted of child molestation, basically, and sexual abuse. He's physically.
It's not like he's in a hospital bad. Like,
no, but
I would think cities would have rules about that. Like, if you are in jail on felony charges, you forfeit your seat.
Actually, no. There is no rule.
Well, actually, you would have to. The rule would probably have to be a conviction. But what I'm saying is that, like, it's not so much that like it should have to be a high number of people, like a higher threshold of those who voted. It's just like if nobody comes out and votes, then fuck your election. Like,
well, 2/3 is a really high threshold. 67% is a really high threshold. There are school parcel taxes or school measures where it's like, we need this money to educate your children, to pay teachers, right, to keep schools open.
And it won't
even
meet the 2/3.
Those don't pass now on a regular basis, even here in Tony, South Bay, where we have the kind of resources to pay like $100 parcel tax, right? Even those don't pass. So it's a really substantial threshold, and most local elections come down to a handful of percentage points. I think either would work. I do really like the quorum idea, though. That's a really creative way of going about it. So I am going to pitch that.
Just for like, not for like a special election where somebody dies, or whatever, specifically for you are removing someone that you already elected.
You're overturning the will of the voters, basically, is what it would
You're
be.
Overturning yourselves.
Correct. So I think that's a great idea.
A reasonable number of yourselves should have to show up to do that.
Well, there's another situation that comes up in city councils, not to because we have another clip here on the same story, but the city councils, legislative bodies, if you're in the losing, you're in the minority on a vote, right? If you want to get the vote reconsidered, someone who voted for it has to propose to reconsider the vote, right? Otherwise, it's a done deal. But you need someone who supported it to come out and say we need to reconsider it. So even that's a higher, pretty significant threshold.
I mean, that kind of makes sense on when you're looking at your number of people. It's 5 or 7, right?
Yeah, it's 11 member body or a 5-member body for sure. But I really do like. I'm going to make a note. I really do like that quorum idea. I'm gonna run that up a flagpole. I know a few people on the elections commission and the elections committees at the state house.
You're not going to be all the producer Dave quorum law of whatever, but just see what they
absolutely. I'll give you credit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. The producer Dave quorum measure, right? Or we can do it by initiative, right? It would be the producer Dave Quorum in Recalls Act. And we'd have to get signatures to get it on the ballot, and we would only need 50%, and you would need quorum. But once it's passed,
we would
the
say
irony.
In fact, we would tell people that would be highly disappointed in ourselves and our organization if our measure does not meet its own quorum of fucking requirement.
It would be embarrassment upon embarrassment. Anyway,
shut up and go away.
Right. Well, regardless, we're going to find out in a couple minutes, actually, here, not live, but on while we're recording here, what happened. But in the meantime, so that was ABC 7 local covering the race. This is NBC Bay Area, and apparently either the supervisor is not really fond of NBC, or they're not as good on the whole reporting thing. But we'll find out why when we watch the clip.
A contentious recall goes before some San Francisco voters tomorrow. District 4 will decide whether or not Supervisor Joel Engardio gets to keep his job. This all sparked by a citywide approval of a plan to ban cars on part of the Great Highway. As NBC Bay Area Sergio Quintana tells us, some of the strongest supporters for the recall come from outside that district.
On a sunny day in San Francisco, Sunset Dunes Park is a pretty popular spot to stroll and take in the cool ocean breeze. That's where we spotted neighborhood resident Robert, who was walking his dogs. He supports the push to recall District 4 Supervisor Joel Engardio.
The way Kay got put on the ballot, that was my main issue, and some of the back dealing he's been doing since he's been in office.
Proposition passed last November permanently
generic.
the 2-mile stretch of the Great Highway. The creation of Sunset Dunes Park was actually a popular vote for the entire city of San Francisco, controversial here in District 4, and ultimately those voters will determine what's going to happen with Supervisor Engardio. The citywide ballot measure passed with 54% of voters supporting it and 45% against. But on the west side of the city, opposition was fierce, and the push to recall Supervisor Engardio for supporting the measure was swift. Richard Correa lives in District 1, just across Golden Gate Park in the Richmond neighborhood. While he's not in Engardio's district, he was one of the initial signature gatherers for the recall.
Folks like the way they're living out there, and change comes, but not change designed in the back room quietly with a supervisor.
He, like many of the organizers of this recall, cite increased commute times and safety as their main concerns. But the park and the supervisor have their supporters as well. Marina Fairmay moved into the neighborhood a month ago.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying living here and seeing
It's like, bitch, I moved here because of the park.
and seeing like the little outdoor areas that they have set up. So I would hate to see anything happen to that or like any of that change.
We did try contacting Supervisor Engardio and his campaign manager for comment or to follow along as he canvassed the neighborhood. But after multiple calls and texts, neither provided their location and we couldn't track them down. The special election is tomorrow. In San Francisco, Sergio Quintana, NBC Bay Area News.
So the other, I think the other place just found him, right? They just were like,
Yeah,
well,
right.
he's pounding the pavement, and we know the neighborhood, and we kind of know. Maybe they even sort of knew like what particular parts of the neighborhood might be more like have people more inclined to like support or like reject the recall or whatever, because that that's a whole district, right? It's not like a block, and so
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, ABC gets one of the recall proponents who, forwarded the measure and is out there pushing it. They get Matt Dorsey and fellow supervisor. And then they go out and walk doors with Joel Engardio. And Sergio Quintana gets Stoner Joel or Dave or whoever it was down by the park. He gets the gal who just moved into the district like a month ago, and the guy who supports the recall who doesn't even live in the district. So either Sergio Quintana doesn't know how to do journalism, or he just is not very well liked
right
on the west side of San Francisco.
Maybe they don't agree on a lot over there, but they don't like Sergio for whatever reason.
Apparently, it must be the short sleeve button up shirts. I don't know. So this is just that amused me to no end. he didn't respond. They couldn't find him. But you're right. Like, just go out. Like he said, he's knocking doors 5-6 hours a day. So just go out any given day in the district. You're probably going to find the guy somewhere. Hit the pavement, pound the pavement yourself. Do some journalism. Anyway,
Right,
we shall see.
Well, my thing, it's so funny listening to the people talk about. So they're not mad about the park, right? Because the guy was walking his dogs in the park. Probably fucking those dogs probably love that park. So now it's like just general, almost like generic talking points about corrupt processes, right? Where
Right.
where this was done in a back room. Well, where were they supposed to do it? In your living room?
They made this decision. This decision was made at City Hall. I don't like that. On YouTube, you know, and I could watch it on Zoom and comment on Zoom, but you know, I don't like that. And it's again just one decision out of myriad decisions that they make every single day, and it's the one that just riled people up, and they're using this poor guy as a scapegoat, just like typically happens, right? It's not, you know, he wasn't the only supervisor that voted for it. He wasn't the supervisor that pushed it. He just happened to be the supervisor who represents the district where the park is. And it's just unfortunate. Like I said, the angry mob and the loud voice in the room usually wins. The squeaky wheel gets, you know, the oil. And that's more than likely what's going to happen here. It really does. We're talking a lot these days, right? In the media is talking a lot about political violence and fear, right? And how this incidents like what happened last week, you know, will stifle debate and stifle people from, you know, prevent people from coming out and speaking their mind or running for office in the first place. And this is another thing that it's not violence, but it's certainly going to deter a lot of folks who might consider public service or might want to get more engaged or might want to speak out. Like, why would you, right? If this is the result, why would you take a stand? There was another story that I watched about this on another news network where someone was quoted saying, yeah, like, this is really worrisome because who's going to want to step up and represent our neighborhood if every time they make a decision that someone doesn't like they're risking losing their job. And that's not conducive to good leadership. It's not conducive to consistent leadership. And it's just going to put things like this and Chesa Boudin and you know, the Alameda DA and Sheng Tao, no matter what happened with her, right? Any of these recalls is just going to put more distance between folks who genuinely want to serve and help and the actual service, because it's becoming a bridge too far. I don't know if I would want to. You know, I've run for office, and it's scary in a way. Like, there was the council person who was elected in my district had a bomb
and put at her house.
A bomb planted near her house, right? A live munition.
It was during COVID.
Right, with her kids, where her kids live, right, and her husband live, who have nothing to do with any of this shit. So yeah, I'm thinking twice about it. I always, and I'm advising friends and colleagues who want to run, because I do a lot of campaign consulting. Like, you really need to be ready.
You could be behind the scenes. You could have a good career behind the scenes.
Right, but it's almost like, I just want to remind them, like, are you ready? Are you ready for all that comes with this? And do you understand all that comes with this? And I don't think that, you know, I know that we don't think about it enough, especially at the local level, because we just don't think about, you know, assassination or
everywhere isn't Shasta County, right?
Right. Especially here, you wouldn't necessarily think of that, but that happened right here in San Jose, right? It happened right here. It's happening in San Francisco with this recall, and it's happened elsewhere in you know, Minnesota.
And I mean, in San Francisco's history, famously, Mayor Moscone was murdered,
and Harvey Milk,
by a fellow supervisor, no less.
Correct. Yeah, and Harvey Milk in the same day. So. Yeah, we have a history of it, and it's something everyone has to bear in mind if they're putting themselves out there. You put yourself out there in any public space.
I just want like a rundown of what happened here with this park. I'm guessing like some community groups or something, or some group of people thought, hey, you know, this would be actually great if this just extended out to the beach as a park. And then they brought it to it made its way up the food chain in whatever way these things sort of make their way up to the food chain, and got to the city council. Somebody proposed it on the city council. That wasn't this guy. This guy said, hey, that doesn't sound like the worst idea in the world. And then he said yes and put it on the ballot. And then it came to be because it got more votes in the city than the opposition side. And all he did was say, this seems like a good idea. And this is literally all he did.
Yeah, this kind of change, almost any kind of significant change, doesn't come from one person. It's not done in a vacuum. It's not even done in a back room these days anymore. It usually bubbles up from the ground up, because, as we've seen, right, with this, politicians live in fear of making tough decisions, right? They don't want to have to make tough decisions. They want things that they can get behind, that people already give them, you know, political will and political cover, as they say in my business, to do, right? So guaranteed this wouldn't even gone forward without some sort of, you know, broad movement. And converting roads, converting pavement, back to parks, right? Like the reverse of the song, what does it pay paradise? Put up a parking lot. We're doing the reverse now. There's actually a movement within, Parks and Rec and civic leaders and urban planners nationwide to do this very thing. In New York, Manhattan, they repurposed an old subway line, right? They call it the High Line, is now a park. They converted an old elevated train line to a public park, and it's thriving. Like, people love it, and they're not missing the train. So, because they have plenty of trains. So maybe if if people just got out of their cars in San Francisco, which they should anyway, and take the freaking bus or Muni, then they wouldn't be so stressed about this. I don't understand why this road was so trafficked in the first place. It doesn't get you anywhere. It gets you around 19th Avenue, right? So if you're one of those people that is trying to drive through your own neighborhoods and get around, then yeah. But folks in this neighborhood, the folks in this district are not using that road. I guarantee it. They're
right.
just bitching and moaning because they don't like it.
It's not like it was an expressway off of a freeway or what. Like it's not like that.
Not at all. It's not a thoroughfare.
Yeah, it was like a scenic drive, but
right.
But it's what's more scenic is just sitting there actually. Getting stoned.
Right. Like the first guy in that last clip. But no, at some point back in the day, I'm sure it was a well-trafficked road back when they had horse-drawn carriages. But nowadays, it's just not. That's not the case. And much like when voters in the South Bay, here in the Bay Area, South Bay and the Peninsula voted down BART, right, back 50 years ago. There's a very good reason for that, and it's racism. It's absolutely racism.
No,
it's like
people literally called it Moakland. They meant Mobile Oakland. And
right.
They didn't mean the Fox Theater was coming to town.
Right. We don't want those kind of people coming to our neighborhood, right? And that's honestly, that's what I'm vibing here. It may not be a white on black thing in this particular case, but it's certainly us versus them.
West side,
we don't want those East Siders coming to our park, to our neighborhood and clogging up our streets and to go to this park, right? So we want everyone to stay where they are and stay in their community. We're all for parks, but not right here, because not to draw those other people with their bikes and their children and their skateboards, right? So it's pretty disgusting, and I'm hopeful that. They still haven't posted the early results yet, but I'm hopeful that he does survive this. But I don't think that's going to happen. Realistically, it's
the only way he gets through this is if Hibbs like literally pounding the pavement, telling people, "Vote me out in a year."
Yeah, absolutely.
The only way,
and he's doing that. He's doing that. So he's doing everything he can. If he's out there 6 hours a day when he already has a day job as a supervisor, he's doing everything he can. And that's really what you need to do, is just talk to people directly, because it's going to, every one of those conversations that either he or the other side's having on the doors, those are the people that are going to vote. It's not just average person who just gets a mailer.
I would do that guy super solid when he comes to my door. If I lived there, I'd be like, love the park. Don't worry.
Got your back.
You need something to drink?
Yeah, right. You look a little water, although it's nice and foggy, so probably a little better for the walk-in. Anyway, we should move on. There's more down ballot news this week, but good luck, Supervisor Engardio. We'll talk on our next episode about how things went down and what we can do better. And I'm definitely forwarding that.
Since we're off next week, I'm back on Sunday. Maybe I'll lead off. With the recall. And there you go. Don't get it while we're recording this tonight.
Yeah, I'll keep refreshing for some.
Don't bother. We've found that actually trying to do election coverage
it can be challenging.
It just sucks. I feel sorry. I even feel sorry for the Fox News people on election night now. Well, not all of them, but
yeah. Maybe for the midterms in November, we can do a live hash out of what goes down, because there'll be plenty of local elections to talk about, and with more prominence, the results will be posted a lot sooner too. So I could be wrong about the timing too. So
speaking of elections, we have here's some Prop 50 stuff. This is on Downballot Watch. So this is our political part of our political show, and it looks like the governor wants you to vote no on 50.
Let's find out.
Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is calling on Californians to vote no on Proposition 50 this November. That's Governor Gavin Newsom's ballot measure proposing a temporary change to the state's congressional district maps to shore up seats for Democrats in the 2026 midterm elections. Newsom says this will help fight President Donald Trump and that it's a reaction to Texas's redistricting to benefit Republicans. ABC 7 News political reporter Monica Malpass has been tracking all the developments here for months, really. And it's been more than a decade since Schwarzenegger left office, of course, but he is still very relevant in California politics, especially in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely, Kristen. And he has the largest name ID out of anyone who has been opposing Proposition 50, so his opposition is significant. But Schwarzenegger has long been opposed to gerrymandering, and he says, regardless of the extenuating circumstances, it's wrong.
Two bad behaviors don't make a right behavior.
In his most direct opposition to date,
We always terminate them. If you know what I mean.
former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is urging Californians to rebuke Governor Gavin Newsom's November redistricting ballot measure.
This is why it is important for you to vote no on Proposition 50.
Speaking at a Monday USC fireside chat celebrating democracy, Schwarzenegger reminded the audience why he initially advocated for the state's creation of a citizen-led independent redistricting commission.
The distance between the left and the right was so far that they couldn't come together and negotiate. So I realized that what the problem was the way the district lines were drawn.
Last month, I asked Governor Newsom about his talks with the governor.
Have you spoken to the former governor as he tries to become the gerrymandering terminator?
I met with him for an hour and a half last week, went down and visited him at his home. We had a fantastic conversation. And we share many of the same values. We certainly share many of the same concerns about the current occupant in the White House.
In a statement to ABC 7 News, a spokesperson for Newsom's Yes on 50 campaign says a yes vote is, quote, California's best chance of blocking Trump's unprecedented redistricting power grab. It's unclear if Schwarzenegger will be actively joining forces with existing opposition campaigns.
Threatens what voters built.
Right now, billionaire Charles Munger Jr. is the primary financier for the No on Prop 50 efforts hitting the airwaves.
Well, both sides are going to push the fairness argument.
ABC 7 News insider Phil Matier says it might not be a party line issue for all voters.
What we have instead is Democrats even questioning, okay, is this the right way to go? So that's why they're trying to inject Trump as much as possible, because they don't want Democrats or anyone thinking about the rightness and the wrongness of this issue. They want them to be thinking about what it means if it doesn't pass.
And tomorrow, Newsom's Yes on 50 campaign is holding a rescheduled virtual fundraiser with some prominent national Democrats. It was supposed to take place last Wednesday, but it got rescheduled after the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. And worth noting, the name of the campaign event was initially billed as a suggestive acronym for the phrase mess around and find out, but with a swear word that we cannot say on air. And Newsom's campaign did not say if the name change of this event was directly related to what happened on Wednesday, but there was a lot of criticism of the phrase of that word. So very interesting.
I mean, the climate feels very different right now.
Absolutely.
I'm sure Matt Mahan was complaining about the name of the event.
Was he?
I don't know. He's calling out Newsom and the state for all sorts of things. I actually asked the good wife the other day when she thinks he'll declare for governor. We're thinking before Christmas. So stay tuned. Sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But yeah, this is just it's a little bit of silly season for I am one of those Democrats that is actually on the fence because I sympathize with the governor's position, right? Like this is two dumbass moves don't make a right move or good move or smart move. And especially in his case, he was the one who led the charge and was governor when the Independent Redistricting Commission was created here in California. So he has some skin in this game. There is a movement underway nationwide in right-leaning states to gerrymander and to try to set things up so that Republicans, survive the midterms in the House elections, which they're projected to lose if all things stayed the same. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's good to see Democrats stepping up and taking charge and taking on Trump. But I like fighting fire with fire. But this particular case, I think even though it's limited and it's time limited, it's limited just to congressional seats. I think you're playing with fire, and it's a very, very slippery slope. So I'm still undecided how I'm going to vote, and that tells me that the measure is in trouble because I'm a pretty hardcore Democrat when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't even thought about how I'm gonna vote on it. I see both arguments, sort of. Like, the one is like, well, Texas is doing it, and California can just zero that out essentially and put everything right basically right back where it was.
Right.
And then like everything, but then like the other thing is like, then, I feel like one of the things that sucks is that people who are currently in office who won their seats under these, properly drawn or independently drawn lines or whatever, some of those people are going to lose their seat when otherwise they would not have lost their seat. Probably from both parties.
Yeah, no, very much so. It's
like, I don't fucking like it is like Doug LaMalfa from up in Shasta, and there's going to lose his seat. Fuck Doug LaMalfa, but like that was a fairly drawn district, and he won his fucking seat. Like,
yeah, and there will be some Dems that lose their seats out of this because they get drawn out of a favorable, the district that they won fair and square, and now they're drawn in. They're basically drawn out of winning again. And the point was made in that clip, but if you watch the ads, or you'll see the ads on TV if you're watching TV at all, or on the internet at all, in the next couple weeks, the Yes campaign is just really leaning into Trump and really leaning into, we need to do something about cuts to healthcare and cuts to this, and we need to do something about Social Security, and we need to do something about housing. And they're not talking at all about what the measure actually does. They're just saying we need to fight back on that, so vote yes on 50, right? It doesn't actually say they're shying very far away from where what this actually does, whereas the No campaign is attacking it directly and saying, no, this is overturning you. Like, you guys decided, the voters decided to do this. This is an independent commission. California is forward thinking, and we're not, this is going backwards. And even though it's Charles Munger, that motherfucker, promoting it and paying for it, it's still a very good and very valid argument.
I didn't know that guy. Remember that guy on late night TV commercials who would be like, you could be a millionaire with all these government programs. Do you remember that guy? He had like a dollar signs on his, like a Joker outfit, but it was all dollar signs. That guy, that looks like, he looks like him all grown up.
Completely, yeah, without the dollars, without the Riddler costume. Yeah, no, that's he still wears the bow tie though. But yeah, Charles Munger Jr. is the guy
with the fucking dollar signs had a bow tie.
Oh yeah. He just changed. So Charles Munger.
Never trust anybody with a bow tie. Fuck that.
Especially with question. Well, I would never trust anyone with question marks all over their suit, but
or dollar signs.
Or dollar signs for that matter. Oh, sorry, I'm mixing up the Riddler and that dude. Anyway, Charles Munger Jr., former or current former Republican Party chair of California, and ultra conservative, funds all the things that we would normally hate. But like we like to say on Downballot, elections make, and they say in general, elections make strange bedfellows.
I wonder if he was against the original, because he's been around that long, right? That he would have been there when the redistricting thing with the independent commission went through. 100% he was fucking against that, right?
Yeah, no, I would venture to guess that's the case for sure. But far be it for voters to understand that connection, make that connection, and far be it for a campaign to waste the time and money it would take to make that connection, because it's just not.
People don't care. People like, I care, but I just care because I know. I didn't fucking know who he was. But based on who the fuck he was, based on who the fuck he is, I knew, right?
Yeah. And a lot of folks, like, we like to think we can change our mind, right? If we're presented with new information, right? So we don't like to be seen as being.
We can change our mind when presented with new information, but oftentimes it's more the circumstance that we find ourselves in that causes us to change our mind.
Absolutely. Like, what is affecting me directly, right? Like, oh yeah, this school district is doing a great job. Oh, my kid's going to school in your district. You guys are doing an awful job, and I could do it better. Like, I met a candidate the other day for Palo Alto School Board. She's going to run in the November 26th election, and right now she's on a listening tour. Right, she's not asking for money. She's not asking for votes. She's just listening. Right,
and that must be terrifying.
Well, yeah, her introduction is my child just entered kindergarten in this district, and I'm very concerned about the way things are headed, right? So I'm like, oh, goodness gracious, she'll get elected, and it'll be 12 years before she wants to leave. And at the end of 12 years, once their kid graduates, they'll step down, or they'll not run again, or they'll run for something else.
You're like, I fixed it, bye.
Right. Even if they didn't do anything, right? Usually these parents and folks like this get into office and they realize, oh shit, it's actually really hard to do shit, and how it's hard to fuck shit up. It's hard to do good shit, but it's also really hard to fuck shit up unless you are like Trump or, Mahan, deliberately trying to fuck shit up. You have to try to really screw things up in government, and you have to try really hard to get things
Especially,
done.
I think,
and
in
that's
a
just
school
the nature of
district,
it.
because there's like what they refer to as a deep state, but it's full of like dedicated administrators and educators.
Yes, plus the
even
funding mechanism.
Facilities people, all the fucking, some of the kids are like dedicated to the education. You actually, if things are working fairly decently, you're probably right. It probably does take a lot of work to screw the whole thing up.
Well, and when it comes to schools, not to get off track, but most in California especially, the funding mechanism comes from the state. So the districts really have very little control over how much money they have to spend and what they can do in the first place. So the boards don't really have all that much power. They think they have a lot of power. They think very highly of themselves. They've got honorable in front of their name. They get invited to all the banquets and the dinners and the lunches and the glad handing. But they really have no power whatsoever, other than they can fire the superintendent if they want to. And we've seen how well that works in some districts. But anyway, I am getting a little bit of field from the docket, but just wanted to dive into that down ballot. There is speaking of voter suppression and changing things up and flipping the script. Looks like California Republicans are trying to get take on voter fraud by implementing some new draconian measures, and we're going to see what they think they could try to do, but they probably don't have the power to do.
There's a new call to require California voters to show an ID in order to vote. The Republican-led effort is pushing to get this on the ballot for the 2026 ballot. It's not a new concept, but it's getting renewed attention amid growing claims of voter fraud. Here's NBC's Valina Jones.
More than a year out from the 2026 elections, California Republicans say there needs to be more checks and balances to ensure the state's 23 million registered voters are verified residents before they cast their ballot.
Voter ID is about restoring not only internal controls to improve the process, but restoring public trust and confidence in our democracy.
San Diego Assembly member Carl DiMaio runs Reform California, a grassroots organization raising money to get a voter ID initiative on the ballot. If passed, voters would have to show government-issued ID or provide the last four of their social security number or driver's license number to get a ballot. DiMaio says his proposal has received bipartisan support.
People are harboring concerns about how our elections are being conducted. And it's hard.
Yeah, but people like you manufacture those concerns.
Correct.
Voter fraud because you don't know how many votes are being fraudulently cast because there are no internal controls or checks.
DiMaio's campaign will need around 875,000 signatures to qualify for the ballot. Political analyst Larry Gersten says the efforts could cost millions and may be a hard sell for voters without any proof of widespread voter fraud.
Very difficult to do. I'm not going to say it won't happen, but it's an uphill fight, especially on an issue like this, which doesn't draw a whole lot of concern in California.
A Southern California woman is facing 5 felonies after registering her dog to vote in 2 elections. The vote was even counted in one of those elections. Those behind the stunt say she did it to show the flaws of the current system. But Gersten says voter fraud is rare, and critics of voter ID...
Well, wait a minute. If the only example that they can come up with is someone who tried to fucking become the example that you use of the voter fraud...
The exception that proves the rule.
It is an ice cream cone licking itself, is what it is.
Correct.
Effort is more about suppressing votes than fighting fraud.
Requiring voter ID, whether it's a driver's license or security number, oftentimes people don't have all those things. And so states find that the number of voters gets reduced.
Gersten believes if passed, a voter ID law would severely impact vote by mail and reduce voter turnout. Meanwhile, DiMaio says it's time to let the voters decide next November. In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
How would it impact vote by mail? If you can vote by mail, you can put your driver's license number. You can, even if you fucking lost your driver's license, you can go on the DMV's website. As long as you fucking logged, you can go in there and like find some way to prove that you are who you are. Or they might even just look at your fucking picture and be like, yeah, that's you. Here's your driver's license number. And you can figure that out on vote by mail.
Well, that's what the proponents of voter ID and all these measures that are designed to suppress the vote will tell you is that, you should have, what's so bad about showing your ID or, your last four of your social? It's, we do it all the time. We share those things all the time to get get access to services and things of that nature. And yeah, that's true. But two things here. One, forget widespread. Voter fraud is one of the rarest things
in the world.
In the world. They're evidenced by, like you just said, they had to find this woman who registered her dog to vote twice, right? And she's and if she was doing it to prove that you could do it, I would guarantee there are tens of billions of dollars are spent every year in our elections. You don't think that folks like Elon Musk or these guys that are, the Soros, the guys that are funding on either side, these huge PACs, you don't think they would have tried that by now? You don't think they would have developed sophisticated efforts to game the system and get a bunch of fake people voting? You don't think Trump would have tried that? Of course not. It's difficult. It's almost impossible to do because, sorry, Chuck DeMaio, there are checks and balances. There are thousands of people that work every day to ensure that dogs are not voting. And yes, occasionally a dog votes, but we're talking about one vote out of tens of millions of votes.
And notice they said registered. They didn't say that you voted for the dog, because you're in deep shit. Like the registration is like if first of all, it's two crimes, right? First of all, you're dealing with two crimes, but also you were in the kind of in-person voting fraud that they're talking about, or even on the mail-in voter fraud. I think people are just afraid, even if they're inclined to. I think they're just afraid because they, like you were saying, there's enough checks and balances that I think people know they're going to get caught.
Yeah, and apparently this dog did vote once, right? Or the vote was counted, but they caught it after the fact, right? The whole point is that they caught it, right? They cast a vote, it was counted. But yes, you could register Mickey Mouse, Joe Montana, whatever, tomorrow to vote. Absolutely. They still have to turn out to vote, right? And they still have to have a signature and an address where you mail the ballot and you have to mail it back in. The effort it would take to create enough voter fraud to actually sway even a local election is immense. So this is a complete, like you said, ice cream cone licking itself. It's a problem it's a solution in search of a problem. There is no problem. And what it would do is create more burdens for people, especially people of color, especially immigrants, recent immigrants who are now, just naturalized and people with disability. Anyone who feels like they're in a marginalized population and doesn't want to be on any government list. The same kind of people who are afraid to come out to public events now because they fear, retaliation or deportation or whatever, right? These are the folks who are going to be scared away from voting because it's just another barrier. It's already hard enough, like with, we talked about with Joel Engardio talking to people, right? He's probably having to drag people to vote, right? They pretty much have to do that, even in a regular election,
right? Our problem isn't too many. America's problem is not too many people voting.
Correct, right? Even the Obama campaign that was the biggest zeitgeist in history, political zeitgeist in history. We struggled to get people to come out to vote. And we make it as easy as possible in California. You get a ballot mailed to you. You just have to mark it and put it in the box. You don't have to put a stamp on it even. Just put it out there for your mail person. They will take it. You don't have to leave the house. You can be shut in and vote.
I don't think any state with mail-in voting. I think I think it's having to.
It varies.
Stupid, it varies. It would be like a poll tax, essentially.
It does vary, though. No, you probably wouldn't be surprised, but it does vary state to state. The laws are all over the place. There need to be some more federal standards for sure for vote by mail, but that's another conversation. But yeah, the amount of effort it would take to actually sway an election through voter fraud is just immense and almost impossible to accomplish.
Well, through in-person voter fraud, there are other kinds of voter fraud and election fraud that are much more effective dollar for dollar, right?
I mean, maybe if vote by mail is a very stringent process. It's almost more stringent than in-person voting.
What I'm saying is, at the point of the ballot isn't where our elections have people fucking with them.
Well, yeah, no, of course not. It's misinformation. It's what people are learning about what they're using to vote. It's the information people are using to cast their vote. The people that do cast their vote, right?
And the money.
Yes, and then that's the money that the money creates. That money allows that information to be spread, right? You could. you could have the most batshit crazy idea, but no one's going to hear about it if you don't have any money to, put it out there in front of them, right? Or put it on TV or put it in front of their face on Instagram, right? No one's going to know if you had the cure for cancer if you don't have the money to tell them about it, or if you don't have the trust of people, which the CDC unfortunately doesn't now, to spread it around. So it's all about money, 100%. Paul, that's the whole game is built around that. So, and I don't know how you get the money out. I just know that it needs to be a fair, somehow a more balanced and equitable process, but I don't know how you can get the money out. So I think we're kind of stuck with the system we have. But at the end of the day, the system we have when it comes to the votes themselves is sound. You're right, though. It's the intent and the information that we use to run our elections and cast our votes. That's the problem right now.
Yep. Well, let's move on here. We have winners and losers, where there are no winners unless you liked somebody, and they're probably hosed, actually, in the story. Person.
So speaking of people we don't like, Mayor Daniel Lurie, Mayor Ed 210 from San Francisco, has introduced a $40 million plan to revamp downtown because, of course, it needs revamping because it's just a pigsty. But, of course, it's not going to be public dollars. It's going to be some good friends of his from the private corporate community stepping up. We're going to find out more from ABC.
And learn. That's San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie's vision for downtown. And he's got a new initiative he hopes will make it happen. ABC 7 News reporter Zach Fuentes is live in the city this morning to break down that plan. And Zach, the mayor says he's already secured tens of millions of dollars in private funding.
Yeah, his administration says they're going to be leveraging $40 million in private investments to help boost downtown. This is called the Heart of the City Executive Directive, and the initiative is going to be using the millions of dollars to help support small businesses, clean up streets, and activate public spaces. It also calls for converting empty office spaces into housing. Lurie said it's going to put downtown on track to be a 24/7 neighborhood, and the priorities are going to be measured through next year.
It's not just that San Francisco is now open for business. We are making it easier to do business here in this city.
Lurie also wants to streamline permits to encourage more private investments to help boost downtown's growth. Some of the areas the plan's going to focus in on include Powell Street, Stockton Street, and 4th Street, and also Embarcadero Plaza. So moving forward, the different milestones are going to be measured in 3 different periods. So 100 days, 6 months, and a year from now. Right now, live in San Francisco, Zach Fuentes, ABC 7 News.
Well, if they're actually doing something, that $40 million will run out in 15 days.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, 40 million doesn't really buy you a whole lot these days when it comes to public works, frankly. And we're talking about billions just for like the BART project, right? So, the idea of,
or like how many, one floor of one of those office buildings can be like retrofitted into apartments for $40 million? Get the fuck out of here. Like, you're also going to invest in public spaces. Like, I'm just thinking, like, I don't know. I don't know if you use it for good things. It's good that you're using it for those things, but you're not. This isn't that. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with $40 million? I was thinking, like, if it was San Jose, what would you do with $40 million? Fucking nothing.
Right. Well, there is one thing in the next clip. That was a great segue, actually, about one thing that's going to happen. Looks like they're going to be demolishing a spot that skaters and other city.
Oh, great! Revitalize the public space by getting rid of the skate park.
Of course. I mean, you got to get rid of those people first and foremost, right? So KPIX has the story here.
Oh, man, this is fantastic.
Been controversial almost since the day it went in. Herb Caen, famous columnist for the San Francisco Chronicle, once said that it looked like the leavings of a giant dog with square intestines. And now the city wants to rip it out. The controversy over the city's decision to pull down Valancourt Fountain from Embarcadero Plaza is heating up. The plan is to build a new multi-million-dollar park that would end up...
Oh, yeah, $40 million will take care of that. No problem.
Well, maybe they should close the street, too. Close the Embarcadero and build a park. Oh, wait. No, that would be bad. That might piss some people off. Get Mayor Lurie recalled.
Oh, yeah, getting off the freeway right there. But if you get off even if you're trying to go to the... Anyway, most people don't understand San Francisco. Do not get off at the first exit in San Francisco under any circumstances from the Bay Bridge.
Bad idea.
Just get off at the second one and let your GPS reroute you.
Twice the size of Union Square. Amanda Harry reports that skateboarders are not taking this rolling down.
Oh, cute.
The architecture of the Embarcadero Plaza could soon look very different. A renovation plan could eliminate the iconic and at the same time controversial Viancore fountain.
To see it go would be like devastating.
Zeke McGuire started skating at just 10 years old. Since then, he's been going to the plaza.
I've been coming here my whole life, and I've skated those stairs. I got injured on those stairs.
He's skated every inch of it, including the ledges of the Viancore fountain. It's been a fixture of the area since it was completed in 1971. The fountain is impossible to miss. Boxy concrete tubes that stand about 40 feet high. It's been the backdrop of more skateboard videos than anyone can count.
It's extremely awesome. It's there's people all across the world who come to San Francisco to skate here in specific, so for it to be gone, people would come and visit here and it wouldn't be here anymore. So I would say get it in before it's gone.
San Francisco Recreation and Parks announced the Embarcadero Plaza renovation project last year. The city would construct a new waterfront park, which would tear down the structure, telling us earlier this year that after years of deterioration, the fountain now poses a safety issue.
The structure is unstable, hazardous materials are present, and we just can't allow public access to a space that poses safety risks.
Historical preservationists, landscape architects, and skate enthusiasts like Bay Area professional skateboarder Carl Watson are now pushing back, saying it's a part of the sport's history in San Francisco.
A beautiful monstrosity that needs to stay.
He says except for a few exceptions, people didn't skate into the fountain, just around it.
The fountain was integral for when we were tired after skating. We needed a place to relax and, just enjoy the water flowing, and the fountain definitely did that for us.
Now the fountain is stagnant. The water stopped flowing years ago. In June, it was fenced off after the city deemed it a safety hazard. If Fellman was disappointed to see it like this.
I came down here last week just to see the fencing, and I was like, oh, they really don't want us skating here anymore.
In August, the Recreation and Parks Department formally requested permission to remove the fountain from the city's civic art collection. But McGuire is hoping people like Watson and the artist keep fighting. Armin Viancore's lawyer recently sent a letter to multiple city departments demanding the city cease and desist all efforts to remove his work. No final decision has been made yet, but if it does go, McGuire hopes they'll leave something.
Even if it was to be fully demolished, I think it would be really nice if they kept a little bit of something, or maybe made something or a part for people to skate.
Well, the current plan is to amass about $22 million to pay for the project. It's currently still in the planning phase.
Well, that $40 million they talked about before won't even pay to remove the fountain.
Right, not even half the park. This new park they want to build will be paid for with that money. So there you go.
No. We're talking. You couldn't tear down half of what you I fucking swear to you, tearing down that fountain. If they're not lying and there's hazardous materials and shit in there, and tens of millions of dollars to tear it down. This is a large piece of concrete, and if there's hazardous materials in there, you can't just fucking hit it with a wrecking ball.
Yeah, and this is just one piece of this bigger project anyway. I have a lot of fond memories of that fountain. Actually, one of the first times I took acid in San Francisco, we hiked from the Haight all the way down to the Bay Shore and climbed on that fountain. It was still working at the time. Climbed around on it and had a grand old time. So yeah, I think it would be a shame to lose it. And this poor skater thinking, oh well, maybe if they take it down and they rebuild the park, they'll create a new skate park for us. So they'll include a skate park in the new park. Yeah, right. Did you see the skate park in that rendering? I did not see the skate park in that rendering. I saw a bunch of steel beams or something erected in some sort of asterisk or asshole kind of shape, but I don't see anything that's skatable there at all. I see a lot of Tony families, walking their white families walking their white children down the white streets, and no skateboarders to be seen. So it's a pipe dream, pun intended, if they think that they're going to get a skate park back or out of this endeavor.
Well, the other thing too is necessity being the mother of invention. They needed kids that were skating and adults who were skating needed a place to skate, and that place just happened to work. right?
Correct.
They didn't build it as a skate park in the first place anyway.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. They'll find, and skaters are like water. They will find a way. They'll find in life. They'll find a way. They'll find a way to get it done and find spaces where they can do their thing. No matter how much we try to curtail, or government or others private industry tries to curtail skateboarding or any kind of alternative behavior, people find a way. If it's worthwhile and people have fun doing it, they find a way. And whether it's skateboarding or it could be other stuff that we don't necessarily agree with and more bad stuff, right? People find a way to get it done. So good luck to both sides.
They're not going to have
we'll
a
see what
skate park
happens.
there. They're going to have like a dog park, maybe
pickleball.
They'll have pickleball, but they'll also have like a drone launch pad.
Oh, 100%. And some sort of viewing platform for the fireworks on 4th of July, that's a permanent platform for a one night only event, something like that. Or as we saw recently at the big
If they make
naked
a
woman
platform
statue.
so you can get up a little bit higher and see the fucking fireworks, the skateboarders will skate the shit out of that.
Oh, for sure. And just get up higher into the fog, basically. But they did have that big naked woman down there, so maybe
They got
that's
rid
the
of her,
vision
I
for the
think.
future. Yeah, it was a temporary exhibit. I think it was like a Burning Man thing. Not that they burned her, but it's similar. Anyway, well, good luck to the skaters. But they'll, like you said, they'll find a way. They'll find their spots. It would be a shame to lose another iconic piece of San Francisco, and it probably would cost a shit ton less to, like, I don't know, fix the fucking fountain.
I don't know. It
Get
just
the
depends
water
if there's
going
like
again.
asbestos or something in there, but I can't imagine
I
there's
don't
asbestos
think so.
in
It's
there.
concrete. Yeah, it's built out of concrete. There's no asbestos in that. And it was 71. That was after the real heavy asbestos utilization period.
It just seems it just seems like it seems like a thing that they just never maintained. And I think it might be partly because the fucking who was using it, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, 100%. Like, let's scare away the skaters. Let's get the skaters to shoo away. Let's get the unhoused people to shoo away by just making it,
Like if it was a
uninhabitable
meetup
or
spot,
unskatable.
if it was like a meetup spot for like fucking Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, and like was in the backdrop of like, we were at such and such a park, like in all these fucking horrible books about these people. I forget who writes all of those. Anyway, but if it was like, how like Hobie's was like an institution for like that's where all the tech meetings happen, but Hobie's was a business. If it was, I'm just telling you, if there was like some other story or fucking Joe Montana liked to hang out there or whatever, that shit would have been maintained,
Sure. Yeah, if they could play sports there, like real professional sports, it would be fine.
Or even if just sports stars like to have their lunch there.
Yeah, well, they would. If they had a sports star, Joe Montana would throw down money to save the fountain, right? And he would say, "Oh, you can't tear this down. Here's $40 million. Revamp the downtown, but keep the fountain." In other news, in the winners and losers portion of the show, this is something that I want to thank I Am Not a Possum, one of our wonderful Discord chatters, for posting into the Bay Area news feed. UC Berkeley, that bastion of lefty, protest movements from the 60s, apparently has pulled a McCarthy, and we're going to find out about it from KTVU.
UC Berkeley and other campuses.
The Department of Education Office of Civil Rights is handling the case. KTVU's Devin Truby joins us live with more details. Devin?
Yeah, good morning. The university now providing personal information as the investigation continues, turning over the list of names, about 160 students, staff, faculty, some even alumni now after the pro-Palestine protests on campus more than a year ago. Now, this is all being reported by the Daily Californian for the latest of what's happening in this investigation. The information was turned over for the Office of Legal Affairs, and those that had their information submitted received an official notice saying that their names were in documents provided for this investigation. That's why this is what the chancellor had to say back in July on Capitol Hill, defending the university's work to fight anti-Semitism on campus.
I am the first to say we have more work to do. Berkeley, like our nation, has not been immune to the disturbing rise in anti-Semitism. And as a public university, we have a solemn obligation to protect our community from discrimination and harassment, while also upholding the First Amendment right to free speech.
UC Berkeley Students for Justice in Palestine posted on social media calling the release of information a betrayal, saying the university gave prior assurances that identities would remain protected, saying students were not aware investigations had even been opened against them. UC Berkeley not alone in a campus that's being investigated. You also have UC Davis, San Diego, UCSF, and more. Reporting from the UC Berkeley campus, Devin Truby, back to you.
Devin, thank you.
I don't know why the chancellor.
Not your grandfather's Berkeley.
I don't know why the chancellor went in front of Congress and was like, "Oh, well, we have work to do." No, this is it's just that I guess like whatever. He saw these other people get fired and he fucking didn't want to get fired, maybe. But like,
yeah,
but like these people, there is just this conflation. It just keeps going. That like you're like, I don't like what the Israeli government is doing, and I think that the United States government and individuals, foundations, investment groups, whoever it may be, should divest like we did to South Africa because of what was happening in South Africa. Now you're a fucking anti-Semite?
Pretty much. That is the equation, and that's exactly and entirely, well, almost entirely what this is all about. There's the double whammy of the Trump administration is on the attack against all educational institutions, especially those like Berkeley, like even Harvard, that tend to take a more liberal-leaning attitude. Although Harvard is far cry from Berkeley, if you think about it. But they've also been hit very hard and have been part of. Ironically, they're the ones leading the resistance in education against this kind of blowback. So yeah, it's typical fascist, autocratic behavior, right? What do you do to suppress the populace and suppress those who might rise up against you? You imprison them, you rob them of their education, you rob them of information, and you destroy institutions
or like
of education.
This, we would call this this is basically a noisy investigation, right? Where you're not where possibly the point of the investigation. It's like when Scientology follows people around when they find out reporters are reporting on them. They don't want you to. They don't not want you to know that you're being investigated by them. They don't want you to know you're being followed, and that's sort of what's going on here. I think they want everyone that is being investigated in this to know that they are potentially under the thumb of the federal government for things that they have said.
Oh, and not just them, not just these 160 people. It's actually not about these 160 people, right? Just like a lot of the raids you're seeing, right? The immigration raids are not, there's no way that they can physically go out and grab 12 million undocumented immigrants and deport them all, right?
If we take those numbers as being true, because these are estimated numbers, obviously.
Sure, but it is 12 million, about 13 million undocumented people in the United States today, according to all educated estimates, data, but they're not going to deport all of them tomorrow. What they're going to do is make a big show out of deporting a few people and scaring the living shit out of everyone so that immigrants don't come in the first place, right? And we're already seeing that. Or people just leave if they can and they have anywhere else to go. They just leave because they don't want to have to deal with it. So they quote unquote self-deport, right? Like that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to scare people.
The analog here at the university would be like maybe a professor, maybe like a tenured professor with some clout who might have been inclined to speak up on these issues. Maybe not at first because they were maybe waiting, and at some point they were like, okay, I think these protesters, they actually do have a point, and this is quite bad that we're invested in this. Well, now maybe it's time to keep your head down because you're a few years off of retirement.
The specific person you're speaking about is Professor Judith Butler. She was the subject of the Guardian story that I Am Not a Possum shared in our feed, and she is just that. She is a professor who has she's a Jewish studies teacher who has long been critical of the state of Israel, and now is openly wondering, like, should she continue or should her colleagues continue? What is this going to mean for them? And she only found out about this because I think Berkeley didn't inform her that her name had been released or that she was under investigation. She found out because she was notified by the education department or by the feds that she's under investigation. But Berkeley didn't do anything to alert her of that at all, even though she's a tenured professor there. So this is disturbing on a lot of levels, not just because it's an institution of higher learning, but particularly because it's Berkeley. Particularly because this of all the places, right? One would think have the impression that this is the place where free speech and individual rights and freedoms and wanting and fighting genocide and fighting, autocracies around the world would be accepted, and not just accepted, but celebrated, right? And you see students on the steps of Sproul Hall, the same as they were in the 60s, protesting injustice, right? You would think that Berkeley would be a spot where they would stand firm against this bullshit, but just like any other public or private now, it looks like institution, they're bowing down, right? They probably had their flags at half mast for butt face, the minute Trump issued the order, right? So everyone's getting in line because they don't want to get fucked. And it's exactly how fascists are allowed to thrive.
That's the thing is that's the thing. And this is, a bigger picture. If you're getting in the line because you think that because getting in line, you're not going to be the one that gets fucked, but you were possibly in the other line before where you were probably going to get fucked.
Mm-hmm.
You're just you're closer to the end of the line of people who are going to get fucked than you were before, but you're not in the I'm not going to get fucked line.
Right.
Like the Jews who turned in their neighbors in the under the Third Reich. They didn't get in the I'm not going to be fucked line. They just got further away from the front of the I'm fucked line.
Yeah, this was a more maybe more palatable, suitable for work parable around it, or line around it. What is it? First, they came for my my neighbor, the Jew, and I was not a Jew, so I didn't say anything, right? And then they came and then they came for my black neighbor, and I'm not black, so I didn't think it was my problem, so I stayed out of it. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to stand up for me, so they took me, right? Like that's exactly what's going on. They make everyone afraid to stand up, and eventually they just expunge everyone who does not fall in line, or who they don't think falls in line, right? We could fall in line, you could just get sent up to the gulag the next day on a whim because of something you said 5 days ago. They're really just trying to get this down to who they want. Who do they think are Americans? Who do they think should be part of our country? Who do they think should be part of this covenant? This is exactly, sorry everyone, this is exactly how fascism starts and is allowed to thrive. Welcome
and more to the
America.
point, this isn't necessarily about Berkeley, right? It's about the University of California system not having leadership that at the top tells these chancellors, if you're subpoenaed by Congress, just go take the fifth. We're not firing you.
Sure. Well, and they're all political creatures anyway, like the Board of Regents. They're all appointed by political. They're all political appointees, basically. So they're all living in just the same amount of fear and trepidation, or just whatever you want to call it, inferiority, as the rest of us. So it's just sad state of affairs, and it's sad to see it happening at Berkeley.
Harvard, of all places, is the only place really given any go fuck yourself back about it.
And they're getting even more fucked every day, right? Like the pressure is so hard on them with all the money that's being withheld and the good work that they could be doing, right? And we're doing in terms of research.
I mean, it's probably just by fortune that 2 or 3 people in positions of power at Harvard think they have enough money and juice that they can do this, right?
Yes, of course. But even that's running thin, right? They've been slowly but surely backing down, or at least not fighting as hard anymore, because you don't hear about it anymore. Because the pressure just gets to be too much, and the pressure from all of your constituents gets to be too. I mean, I see it in just a single private high school right here in the South Bay, right? Like just seeing how the leadership responds to my old alma mater, how they respond to controversy or to issues like this, right? And they're the first to fall in line. They're the first to just back down to whatever their major donors and their benefactors want. And most all those people are MAGA, rich billionaires or tech bros anyway. So it happens in the small scale, and of course it's going to happen on a larger scale like this. And that's, again, this is how they do us. This is how they do us. That's why it's keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned to the Echoplex Media Network, ladies and germs, because we're out here trying to keep y'all educated and keep these channels open and speak our minds. And God help us, hopefully someone doesn't come at us with a pipe bomb.
Right.
We'll see.
And I mean, not for nothing, one of the big things that is maybe not so much on social media all the time, but on the air, one of the things I try to do, especially around unfolding events, is wait. wait.
Yes, it's always a good idea and also to get, not just because hot takes get you in hot water, but also because hot takes are usually not all that well informed because there's just not a lot of information out early on.
Like we didn't say anything about the events of last week until Sunday, which is our news show, which is where we but again, it's because it's media analysis. We were analyzing the media. We didn't have hot takes and conspiracy theory. Like, fuck that. Like, there's no point. Right. There's no point. Anyway, we gotta move on. We gotta move on to get your shit together. And I swear to you, you predicted this like as soon, like not like last week or anything. Like when they put this up, you're like, oh, this is probably gonna be gone in a few months or something. Or I forget what you said. It was like an offhand comment, right? It wasn't like you thought you were saying anything profound. I just swear I remember you saying that this isn't gonna last, or they're gonna tear it down and shuffle people off somewhere else, or
because they're trying to do it their way. They're doing it. The city is trying to allow for sanctioned encampments, basically, right, or sanctioned tent cities. But they're doing it their way, right, with these uniform carpet bomb kind of tents, and that apparently in other cities are like getting up to like 150 degrees inside on a cold day.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it's already an unpalatable place for our unhoused neighbors to go. They're going to refuse to go there. It's not going to succeed. I can see it happening. It looks like a ghetto. It looks like a gulag already. But I did not predict the reason it actually did have to close down. And we're going to find out about that from our local news outlet right here.
Site in San Jose was open to unhoused adults on Monday, and now it's temporarily shut down come Friday. Sky 7 shows us a bird's-eye view of the tents at the Taylor Street Navigation Hub.
Give me one of the white ones, please.
The city's housing department said the RV that serves as an office space for case managers and other administrators lost power due to a generator issue.
All of the clients at that site have been moved from that location to another location. They've all moved together to one of the other emergency interim housing sites that the city contracts out.
City officials said this site is...
Ooh, you could listen. Sometimes you can just hear it. Homegirl was not pleased. She was not happy about this. You could hear it.
Yes. Yeah, Sarah, I know her personally. I work in the public communications space, so I definitely know Sarah from other spaces.
And she was she's happy.
Yeah, she's relatively new to the city, and I don't know that she's really thrilled about working in the Mahan administration, to be honest with you. She seems like a much more sensible person than that. So she's probably is trying to do good work and being in the housing department, but just frustrated by the situation. So
she's like, you bought a used RV from your friend?
Right. Exactly. And yet she's getting paid big bucks to do the job. So it's like kind of conflicting. Like I can afford to live here with my salary, but I have to defend all this bullshit.
City officials said this site is designed to be a temporary stop for unsheltered adults. It's meant to be a stop for weeks or months.
Honestly, I thought it would probably take like at least 2 weeks before it failed. I didn't think it would be less than a whole week.
Sean,
get him home, girl.
Response Group has been a fierce critic of this kind of temporary housing model.
Saying to people, I want you to leave your tent to go live in our tent, it is really like nonsensical to people.
This site has a total
of
56 tents and offers meals and showers.
I love Sean. She's absolutely great. She's completely on point here. We were part of a class action lawsuit together at one point during the George Floyd protests. So love her to death.
Tents and offers meals and showers, but the housing department said so far less than a dozen people have moved in.
Because most people said, I don't want to go live in the tent city. I know you have hotel rooms. I want to go live in a hotel.
I asked Sarah Fields with the city if they've been struggling to enlist people at this site.
I think it's too early to say if there's sort of a client preference. Really we were sort of making those decisions about, the priority list. The aim of the Navigation Hub is really to work with individual adults, potentially couples, but certainly not families, and there will be no minors at the site, no children.
Field said the city is working diligently to bring this site back online. In San Jose, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
I'm sorry, they were powering everything off of a fucking RV?
Yeah, and but it wasn't even, from what I understand, it wasn't even so much powering the whole thing. They were powering the RV where the site manager had to live off a generator, and that generator failed. So therefore, the site manager had no place to live. And instead of moving them into a tent, they just said, we're going to shut the place down until we can get a nice RV where the site manager can live. So, like, you want to add insult to injury, right? Like,
I'm sorry. I just have the, like, what the fuck kind of, what do you call like a if this was like the cops, right? This would be like Keystone Cop shit, but this isn't the cops, right? Is there like a madcap sort of like culturally recognizable phrase for like when something for this, because this is bad.
Snafu, situation normal, all fudged up. Like I don't know if you've ever seen Brazil. If you go out and see Brazil, it's a wonderful Terry Gilliam film. And Central Services.
If people
plays a
ask
big
about
role,
it, just real quick, imagine 1984, but nothing works.
Right, exactly. And everything, all the pipes are exposed, and Central Services is the big government, public works body that comes and tries to fix everything, and all they end up doing is breaking everything and fucking it up even more. So that's pretty much the meme I think of. I don't know about it. I forget some of the great memes in that film, but, if you see something, say something, things like that nature. But this is just silly season is what I usually call it. And
I don't understand, so the RV needed power. Are there no power receptacles at this?
I'm sure there's something they could tap into. I mean, the idea was that this is a spot that's like underutilized. It's not been, it's by a creek bed, by a park. Like there's no, there really is no infrastructure there other than the road next to it. Because and the idea is that it's out of the way, right? It's away from people. The only people that are
power line around there somewhere.
Well, you could run one. Like there was the guy who lives across the street who was complaining about it, who could probably run them a power line, across the street from his house. But he's not going to do that because he's probably excited that the thing's going away, because even the neighbors in this really run down part of town are like, fuck, we don't want the unhoused people coming here. It's going to bring down our property values.
I can't imagine. Okay, first, like, the generator died. How many watts is it? All right, we'd have a backup. Like we're not talking like a stadium fell down. Like a generator died. You could get it. You could get one in a day.
Not even that. You go to the corp yard. The city probably has plenty in their own, corporation yard storage. Like I can't imagine they don't have generators on generators on generators. They have to have them around for all sorts of things. So this is just silly. And it smacks of Mayor Ed 209 putting the cart before the horse, trying to move at the speed of business, or whatever you want to call it. Oh, how cool it is, how efficient we are that we put together this tent city.
The power company takes care of your power for you.
right. And this is his solution, right? So this is just more evidence to me that he's either going to get out while he can and get into that higher office and just continue his ascent to whatever it is, governor, president, writing a memoir. I don't know what his final, maybe he wants to be Trump and the fascist leader of America. I don't know. But whatever his end game is, he's either going to try and get there as fast as possible, and he's going to get out before all the shit hits the fan, or he's going to be around in 2028, right, when we haven't solved this problem or this issue, and it's still it's not just festering, it's overflowing, right, and none of his solutions have worked, and he'll get his ass handed to him in an election because the same people, just like Charles Munger, right, the same people who supported him because he said all the right things about how he's going to clean up the streets and get San Jose back on track, he wasn't able to do, and they'll turn on him in a second and vote his ass out. So he probably knows that, and he's just getting ready to. He's just making as many splashy news stories as he can before he declares for governor around Christmas. Mark my words. Mark the good wife's words.
Not that I'm baffled at the fact that they don't just have power there, that they just have a loud fucking generator. That must be fucking wonderful for the person that works there. But two, that they couldn't just go, like you were like, I thought about buying one, and you were like, no, they probably just have one.
Dude. I mean,
City Works has a generator.
You can go to Costco and get like a portable solar panel or something, right? That would power a fucking RV. Like this is not that difficult. These are like really small things, but this is exactly what happens when you're trying to move fast and cut corners just to make a splash and do some performative bullshit, right? Like they thought they could just open this place up and it wouldn't matter that no one went to live there, and it wouldn't matter that it was a shitty place and a bad solution, because the story would be they opened it, and that would be it. There would not be a follow-up. Well, now there's a follow-up because some shit hit the fan.
You didn't even have to pretend to shovel things for this.
Well, no. Remember we did. We did actually have, I think, the shovel toss. We had the shovel toss.
Fuck yeah, he did. Shoveled this spot. Oh man.
That was the one where
that's what fucking cursed it.
Yeah, that was the one. I think it was in our Hall of Fame of shovel tosses. I think, as I recall, because it was so performative. It was completely like there's no foundation, there's nothing to dig. You're putting tents on the ground, right? So it was this completely performative. Like I'm just gonna dig, put my shovel in this dirt and turn it over, just in this like sort of prefabricated sandbox, just for show, right? Him and his fellow, politicians, including I think the guy that ended up getting convicted of child sex abuse, right? Like they were more than happy to turn that dirt over because it looks good in the media that one day. And local media is such that, as we've covered here, like we have to scour, right? You and I have to scour around to find the follow-up to these stories. We find like the stories about the speed bumps to deter, the sex workers, or
right. Unless it's the Leaning Tower in the Embarcadero, nobody's going to keep covering anything.
Right. So exactly, that's the only one, right? And then it's
San
only
Francisco,
because,
and of course the drugs and all that stuff. They'll cover all that.
Right.
Same B-roll every time, actually.
Right, and with Millennium Tower, it's really only because new shit keeps happening, right? Like it's not just the tower.
It's funny, and
it's the plumbing,
they know it's funny, right?
Oh, completely. I would hope so. At some point, but Jackson Vanderbeeken has to be like cracking his own ass up, but. Yeah, so it's just they don't have to usually have to deal with the fallout when shit doesn't work, right? Because the story is how it got done in the first place, right? And then news stops paying attention because it's usually when something like this doesn't work, it's not working for people who have no voice, right? Like the unhoused, right?
And if
like,
it turned out to work well, Mahan's office would be on the horn to the fucking local news stations every day, being like, "I got a story for you. Hey, I got a story for you."
Right, and he already is, or he'd be talking in the news in San Francisco or LA or San Diego like he does now. He knows he can't get much play here because we're kind of tired of his ass, but anywhere else in California, he's going for it, and he'll drum up as much interest as he can in those shovel tosses, and he will not say a damn thing about this. Like, notice he wasn't in the story. No one, I'm sure they reached out, and he didn't want to get quoted.
Shit, man, he's probably got a generator in his garage that they can use.
He wanted to be like, even though this is a black mark for him, as long as he stays off camera, right? As long as he's not even on camera saying, well, blah, 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 right? Then he's safe. He's safe because no one in the greater populace will make the connection.
Really
no one will blame him.
And to the extent that they do, they're probably going to a lot of people are just going to blame the homeless for it for some reason.
Yeah. Speaking of blaming the homeless and scapegoats, just real quick on the Joel Engardio recall, I'm having some real conflicting information here from the SF election site. So if you go to their homepage, there's this blurb that says, latest update was made at September 16th, 8:32 p.m. It is now 9:09 p.m. Next update as soon as all 20 polling places have reported. Current number of ballots counted in the most recent report was 15,468, which is 30.77% voter turnout. Though voter turnout will increase as additional valid ballots are counted. The approximate number of ballots left to count for this election will be available on September 17th. That's a blurb on the homepage. But then when you go to the election results, there is nothing, zero. so they haven't even posted the results. So all we know is that it looks like 30% of the people at least turned out, which I think bodes well for Supervisor Engardio. I think the higher the turnout, the better his chances. So this could mean, well, it just doesn't say, who voted for what. So, and this is just really conflicting information. So we'll have more. You'll probably have more on Sunday. We'll have more on the next down ballot. But just wanted to give a quick update on the follow up on the story we've been tracking during this live/recording/podcast.
Well, fantastic. As is often the case, we got chatty and this show went long, but I think oftentimes those are the better shows. If only I had the wherewithal and the time management skills to clip out some of the little short 1 to 2 minute fucking conversations that we're having about Bay Area politics, we'd be all over TikTok. But alas, I'm a stoner. So we must move on to and another thing here, and it seems like Claude. It says meet Claude. I'm like, fuck, is it the AI? Is it the AI? And I read the rest of it. I'm like, no, it's fucking alligator. Hell yeah.
Yeah, the AI alligator. So yeah, apparently I was not aware of this, but there is a beloved albino alligator living in the Bay Area, and he just turned 30 years old, and we're going to meet him courtesy of KPIX.
We are a culture that blends.
You could change the world just by being here.
I don't know about this.
One of those.
Oh, I know. This is the lead in. Yeah, it's a fancy lead into her.
This is the you should feel good about the Bay Area, and then
right.
But then watch the news, and we're going to tell you how much everyone's dying.
Eat this food. Eat this food, go to this park. Yeah, right.
Rebounding at this.
Be home by 9.
This
Draymond Green.
is the Bay Area Beat.
The Bay Area Beat.
Welcome back to the Bay Area Beat. I'm looking at you exploring the rhythm of the Bay in a fresh kind of way. And today's story, well, it's actually in the
She rhymed.
San Francisco is home to one of the rarest and most beloved residents in the animal kingdom. Claude, the albino alligator at the California Academy of Sciences, is turning 30. I stopped by to see how the city's favorite reptile is celebrating alongside some of his friends who know him best.
In the still waters of this indoor swamp, a rare and otherworldly creature glides just beneath the surface. Claude, an albino alligator and one of the most beloved residents of San Francisco's California Academy of Sciences, is celebrating a milestone few of his kind ever reach, his 30th birthday. He's watched over by a team of expert caretakers, including biologist Jessica Witherly.
All of our animal care biologists take care of different animals here. So some days I'm looking at starfish with our microscope, and other days I am climbing into this pit and feeding Claude with my other caretakers.
The Cal Academy of Sciences is home to over 38,000 live animals, but none quite like Claude, whose rare condition makes him one of a kind.
Claude has become this massive icon to the San Francisco community. Everyone loves him and his story. He's got 2 children's books, and we get news articles or info from kids across the United States saying how much they love Claude. So he's kind of become this iconic character.
Born without melanin, Claude's brilliant white appearance is the result of albinism, a genetic trait that would make survival in the wild nearly impossible. But here in San Francisco, as a rescue, Claude is not just surviving, he's thriving.
He would not survive in the wild as an ambush predator, and then everyone would be able to see him. They'd unfortunately eat him, and also he would get sunburned. He's a very uncomfortable pink alligator.
From regular households to gentle scrubs, Claude receives the kind of care that ensures a life as relaxed as his temperament.
He's a very calm guy. A lot of people don't think he's real because he doesn't move that much. But I've never been scared. Luckily, at the Cal Academy, we train our staff and have tons of opportunities, so we feel very confident and comfortable whenever we're working with our animals.
And although Claude may be a little bit different, here in the Bay Area, he's right at home.
Now, there's estimated to only be 100 to 200 albino gators in the world. So Claude really is a legend. The party continues all month long. You can check out Cal Academy's website to learn more. Until next time, thanks for catching the Bay Area Beat.
So at first I was thinking, oh, this is great. They're torturing an alligator. And then they were like, oh, this thing would be munched very quickly. It would not do well in the wild. It would not be able to hunt. And I was like, okay, so they're not torturing an alligator.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. But yeah, I felt it's kind of funny. They would, people would be able to, other animals would be able to see him and eat him, and he would, get sunburned. That would really suck. So, good on him. Good on Claude for living his best life and being allowed to live his best life. But yeah, in the wild, he would have been dead before he was 6 months old, more than likely, and definitely not living to see 30. Just an FYI, seeing unsubstantiated reports on the blue sky that Engardio has gone down, looks like 2-1 in early returns, or is going down 2-1 in early returns. So, it looks like the Chronicle's already called the race too, even though I
damn.
get it.
Well, there we go.
Maybe the election center in San Francisco wants to get their results posted online so that normal people like me who look at the official results can get the numbers. But anyway, far be it for me to complain about local elections. That's all we do on this show anyway, and I'm sure someone's coming for us to put us in the gulag for it.
Yeah. Well, that's the show. We did get the results. The Chronicle's not going to call it. If the Chronicle called it, it's probably over.
More than likely, yeah. They're not like my favorite news institution, but they are an established news institution. So, and they are the paper of record in San Francisco still. So, sorry, Supervisor. That's a bum rap and a tough.
And get ready for Supervisor Sam Altman.
Yeah.
Who's the Palantir guy? Alex Karp. I don't know if you know. Well,
they do technically have to live in the district, so there will be a limited number of folks who Mayor Ed Chiang can choose from, but it'll probably take better part of a month or two.
You think the Palantir guy and Sam Altman don't have a house somewhere in the Sunset that they just happen to own that they don't ever go to?
Probably. I figured they would just move out to California forever and become like, part of their board of directors, as it were, city council or whatever they're going to have out there.
It's going to be Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel, Governor Peter Thiel. Well, I can't wait for that. Anyway, that's another thing. Thanks for sticking with us, loyal listeners. And I suppose, do you have anything you want to hype about the week ahead? I'm really looking forward to your Gene taking some time away from the stream and getting your head straight.
I'm gonna make a schedule for myself so that I actually do some of the show prep for Downballot. But also, it'll be not much going on. Check me out actually on lfg.tv. That's lfg.tv/David Buhau. That's DAVIDBUHAU. If I get bored during the week, I'll be trying to build up my following over there on that new DJ platform. It's pretty cool, but slow going because I don't spin on stream much. So, and I guess that's it. If you want to read the show out.
Absolutely, sir. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for downloading the podcast. Please tune in most Tuesdays live at 7:30 Pacific on the Twitch thing. We're going to be off next week, but we'll be back at the beginning of October, or actually September 30th, I should say, so the very end of the month. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more on the District 4 recall election and other local politics. Remember to get yourself vaxxed, especially now that Kaiser and others are giving those out to anyone. And wear a mask where it's appropriate, or if you've been exposed. Pants are totally optional, even if you have been exposed. And we're going to leave you with some audible smoke as usual. Have a great week. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. want, what we wanna do, what we want is the jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is the jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, 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 yeah. Just what we want and enjoy the band. So sit back, just sit back and enjoy the band. We just what we want and enjoy what we want is the jam. So sit back.